tonight we'll deal with the concept, okay, it's either after Tzeis HaKochavim, a little bit before Tzeis HaKochavim, but what about Ma'ariv?
It's for Bedika?
Do you do the Bedika before? Do you do Ma'ariv before the Bedika or after Bedika? And what are the ramifications and how do you deal with it? Nahagim lispal arvis koidim habedika. The tradition is to daven Ma'ariv before the search. Let's say you can't do it before the bedika, but yispal b'yechidus. Go do rather than davening privately. Ela yivdik tchila, make the search. V'achakach yispal arvis b'tzibah, and afterwards daven the Ma'ariv in with a minyan. And he brings down over here. Ha-Mogen Avram Hevi Mashikosav Bach. The Mogen Avram brings down from the Bach. Shemotze B'Hagoyis Hashri. The Mishalo Yispal Arbis Matziba. If someone cannot daven Ma'ariv with a minyan, Yivdik Chila. First he should do the search. V'achakach Yispal. And then daven Keinu b'Machzorim. If you look at Machzorim, I guess these Machzorim had this. That's how it's stated. Because of Abachal, however, the Bach writes miu nearly. However, I feel the Bach says on this that even though it's written that way, the Yispal Tchila Tikal Mecha Shemi Yitari B'Biktasoi, go daven first. Why? What's the logic? Because that we're worried that you might be so into doing the search for yishkach milaspal, and you'll forget to daven. Meaning you'll be so tired out and you'll be so excited. Oh, I finally finished at 2:00 in the morning doing the search. Mash'en came b'tfilah shehi kavua. V'sedura, where you have davening, which is something that you do on a daily basis, and it's something that you know how to do in the back of your mind. Loy matrid, it's not going to cause you to realize that you have to keep your eye on the ball and that you have to afterwards make sure to do the b'dikas chametz. However, someone always davens alone. Give the tchil even the doshpei lo yishkach. Since he's not davening with a minyan, he's doing his things. He won't forget. V'chein kosav mareinu yiruchim l'mish yispal b'beis hakneses u'pamach lo yispal b'beis hakneses. Let's say the same halacha will apply. Normally someone davens a shul. And one time he didn't daven, is asalul madad shispal avris. You can't sit and learn because we're worried since you're not used to davening Ma'ariv at home. You know how things go at home. You get busy with that and you get busy with that, or some other thing, and you'll forget to daven. But let's say you, for some reason, have to daven always at home. Because it's in the norm. You know, you don't go to bed and you don't say Kriya Shema until you make sure to daven Ma'ariv. V'ayisham Mogen Avram Ashkosu b'das Rabbeinu Yerucham v'hu Mishnah Berurah b'Aruch HaShulchan v'ayisham Mishnah Berurah b'Aruch HaShulchan sheviu das ha'chelkes Yaakov the oilom yispal tchila. There's a halacha that you have to daven Ma'ariv before b'dikas Chametz. Why so? Mishum todu she'eina todu. Because of the concept of something that's in the regular cycle and something that's not. You have two things, like we have it all the time. We just had it recently by Pasha Shkolim. What do? We learned the Pasha Hashvua first. Then you went ahead and did Rish Chodesh, because Rish Chodesh is more often than Pasha Shkolim. And then we did Pasha Shkolim. Tada she'ena tada. Chanukah, the same thing. Tada she'ena tada. Tada koidem. Ba'ayin shah, yevachein chriya ha'orcha shulchan ledina. Ubishat siyin kosev the ovid kemar ovid, ovid kemar ovid. You can do whichever way you want. Okay. Now let's go one step further. What?
Saying by Shachris, before you burn it, you have to put your stone on?
Yeah, because it's a different. Over there, the Zman yet of burning Chametz is until later in the day. Later in the morning. So it's a different ball game. Omnam. Yeshloim the Devreim Nemel Mishlei Spal Basic Nessus. We're talking about someone who didn't daven in shul. V'shavei minyan achshir spalim sham arvis. And there's no other minyan in town. There's no 11 o'clock minyan at night, like in Boston. The Raman of Shuch, who adei mispal b'yechidus, he's going to go anyway and daven alone. He missed the boat. He missed the minyan. The bezeh donum lahakdem arvis l'bediko eloi. So then there's a question. What takes precedence? Doing the bedikas chametz or the mariv? And therefore, be too much for the tzibur, whatever the reasons are. But nowadays, you have other minyonim. You got the quarter of a 10. You got the quarter of a 10 minyan. We got Mishli Spal Bizman Yochli Spal Arvis B'minyan Achakach. Even if you didn't do it in the regular fashion that you do, you can daven later on. So Rav Shmuel holds the B'chol Oifen Ein Levat Al Tfilas B'tzir B'shvil Miles Todah She'ena Todah. Minyan takes precedence over everything when it comes to Ma'ariv. And you're not going to be worried about maybe you're going to get too busy and you're going to forget to go daven. Only in the situation of the example that the Magen Avram gives. He normally davens with a minyan. And it happened to be punked that night of B'dikas Chametz, he didn't daven with them. And he decides, okay, what can I do? I'm an Oynis Rachmana Patre, and I'm going to daven at home alone. Then you're going to be worried, maybe he's going to get so busy with the B'dika, it's going to slip his mind that he doesn't daven usually alone, that he's going to go ahead and not daven. It's not going to be on his mind, set the normal situation. You're going to forget. You have that a lot of times. I can tell you that I have a regular time when I take my morning pills and when I take my evening pills. And when it comes to Shabbos, or a day that it's not my norm because I'm out of sync, Purim. So then, I forgot to take my pills because I know that in the morning after davening, I take my coffee, I take my pills. But if it's you're out of sync, you're out of sync. But nowadays, people daven late. That's how he brings it down. Okay, but Lamaisa, over here, there's a question about what's in the norm, what you normally do, and of course, you would say if it's not in the norm, you got to worry about, you should go ahead and do b'dikas chametz because you can daven Ma'ariv later, or is it a din of tada she'eina tada koidem? So these lamaisa machdechel koachronim imas tada adif mitzvila b'tzibah. And I nigus Moshe, Ramosha holds or Achaim shehevi raya v'divrei arosh the malus tada of adif, that he holds that tada she'eina tada koidem. Omna in sham shehevi shashuvs ber yitzchak cause it's tefillah b'tzibah adifa. There's a question over here. The mice at the end of the day, it's not a simple Simon says. But Erev Pesach, we have a minyan here. We come back from Mayim Shalonu. We have a minyan. So you do the Ma'ariv, and then you do the B'tikas Chametz. That's how we do it around here. And it's, I'll tell you where you see it similarly is Leil Chanukah. By the chiddushim, they'll go straight, they'll daven Ma'ariv. Even if they daven later, usually, a lot of chassidim are makbid to daven Ma'ariv, and then to go ahead and do the Chanukah Lecht. By the Litvisha, there's no, because at the end, some of them even do early. Chanukah Lecht, Rabbarim, or other Shittis, well, do you do it earlier? So they do Chanukah Lecht whenever it is, and afterwards they'll do the Ma'ariv. So each one should do according to the way he sees fit. Okay, this comes a little bit more finite. Im yesh lahagn tefillas arbes kidei livduk miyad bizman. Someone wants to go ahead, zrizim magdimim, and make the b'tikas chametz, whatever you want to say. Is it by 72, or is it by 60, or by 55? And he wants to make sure he has Ma'ariv done. And now he has a question. You have two things will clash, the two mitzvahs. Not that one earlier, one later, you're not so makbid, but you want to do it in the first possible minute. And you do Ma'ariv also in the right time. Is mi shenoig ledaktik l'spal arvis b'zman seisek chovnu rabbeinu tam. Over here we do it at least a half hour afterwards. Shemispal gam b'leil yudal bois zman leyuchel esel b'dioseh b'tchil zman bedika. If you're going to do it that time, basically, bedika is going to be later. Filahochi ein lahagim l'zbal koydim zmane harogel el yispal b'seisek chovnu rabbeinu tam kirogel. The guy can go ahead and say, okay, I want to do the mitzvah of B'dikas Chametz, which comes only once a year, exactly when you can start doing it. But if you can do that, you're going to have to daven Ma'ariv, because you want to do Ma'ariv before B'dikas Chametz. So you're going to have to start earlier. Are you allowed to? He says, no. If your time is to do it by Rabbeinu Tam, you got to wait till Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, let's see how they bring down this question, because over here we're not talking about any Tom, Dick, and Harry. We are talking about someone who is makbid on Rabbeinu Tam's man. You have that, not in yeshiva world, but you'll have it amongst Skver Chassidim, Satmar Chassidim. They'll go ahead and say, listen, I'm not davening Ma'ariv. In fact, they'll daven Mincha until Rabbeinu Tam. So, can he make a exception to the rule for Leil B'dikas Chametz or not? It's Kosher Baruch HaShulchan. Da'afilu mishurogel ispal b'yichida b'chol hashana she'en chashash Hashem yitrav v'yishkach b'spal. Even though, let's say, for some odd reason, the person is bedridden, God forbid. And he can't daven with a minyan. He can get out for Shachris, let's say, but he can't go for Mincha Ma'ariv. It's just too much for him. So this person is someone who is habitual to daven Ma'ariv alone. So he doesn't have to worry that maybe he's going to forget to daven Ma'ariv. First daven Ma'ariv and then do the bedika. The Aruch HaShulchan says, it's not written anywhere in the Torah or in Torah Shabbat Peh, in Halacha, that you have to do the bedika and then Ma'ariv. Let's say whatever reason it is, you can't daven until late. We don't say, don't do the bedika because your minig is to daven Ma'ariv. What he means here is we say Tada she'ena Tada Tada Kaidim. If you have two things that are facing you, looking you in the face, you start Ma'ariv and do the Ma'ariv and then the Bedika. Why? Because of Tada she'ena Tada, as we mentioned previously. Al Kapanim. You can't start davening too early. According to this, you do the bedika. The bezayin derech arves mi abedika. V'u chayva ol v'spal b'tziba. It's best to daven with a minyan. V'hagdom is bedika l'tfilah b'yichilas and a choshev shederech arves b'bnei abedika. It's not like you're pushing aside Ma'ariv. Okay, this is what he holds. Okay, so till now, we've been talking about Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv is a mitzvah, Bedika is a mitzvah. And they clash to a certain extent. So what takes precedence? So again here, you come here every night to daven Ma'ariv, you daven Ma'ariv, and then you get home to do the Bedika's Chametz. Because you're davening B'tzibah, and that will be the way you should do it, l'chatchila. But there's other things that might cause a clash, a situation of clashing. Achilu malacha. You have to. We're going to talk. Lima is something else we'll talk about shortly. But let's say you have to eat something. Your wife prepared supper, and the food's getting cold. Umalacha. Or you have to take care of business. There's something that you had to fix. Meshigiyas mana bedika, ubechatzi shah koidim, and also a half hour earlier, din te'ima. What about just taking a little snack? What will be the halachis vis-a-vis these things? Just not a full-fledged meal, just even a snack. The halacha is a known fact. Meshigiyah chatzi shah samach lizman bedika. If it's within a half hour approximately prior to when you can begin the search, osabachila, you're not allowed to eat anything. Dahaina little yadav, that what we mean here is to wash your hands, ulechel kizayis, pashim v'acham al matzah, yoytza mekibeitza paskisnin, or more than a egg amount of type of mezainis. And also, even to drink something that's more than a beitz that will, from an alcoholic drink, will be prohibited. And you're not allowed to do it. Even to take a nap. Working goes without saying, you're not allowed to do. Now, how is it written down in Shulchan Aruch? A famous siman in Shulchan Aruch, siman Tov Lamed Aleph Sif Aleph, Yizoyer kol Adam shelo yaschul b'shum malacha. You shouldn't begin any type of work, lo yochel, and not to eat, ad sheyivdik, until you do the search. U'Magen Avraham explains, B'soif Yom Yud Gimel, we're talking at the end of the 13th day. This year it's the 12th because everything goes one day prior. Since it's Erev Pesach Shechal Liyas B'Shabbos. Rambam, this is from a Rambam, nearly Chatzi Shah Koyin Laila Asa. Okay. Chenu Askamis Kol HaPoiskim.
Does it make a difference if you prepare the 10 pieces before? Because you're less likely to forget. You did that.
Temporary, what's the difference if you won't forget then?
Yeah, you'll have it.
No, nothing to do with that. That we don't put that into the equation. Okay, but now there's a question over here. What does it mean, a snack? What does a snack mean? The Shulchan Aruch in Reish Lamed Beis, this following siman says, that we say you can't even eat a little snack? That's if you go ahead and you sit down to have the snack. But just to take a bite. What does that mean, a bite? You take an apple. That's considered a bite. That's not a snack. It's not like you're sitting down for a snack. Or you're going to go ahead and take a piece of cake. It says this statement. You can't eat a meal until you do the bedika. Even on a piece of cake that you're going to make a mezainis. Even a kizayis is prohibited. Only up to an egg. So it makes a difference if it's mezainis or it's a moitzi. What's the difference? What do you see this distinction? The hainu, this is the same thing. The choshev achilas haroi gabesukah. It's considered achilas haroi. Anything, avol yosim and kibbetz. But once you go ahead and take kibbetz of mezainis, you can't eat it outside the sukkah. You can't eat more than a kibbetz of mezainis before the betikas chametz. Instead of saying chamisha os l'gzeri shava, you say yudal l'gzeri shava. It's not really yudal, but okay. V'zer rak b'pas avol perishar macholim. But that's when it comes to do with a piece of cake. But let's say fruits, yochalecha yosevet because shkein shtia dekula aroi mikri l'gabesukah. Because all these things are like a happenstance for a sukkah that you're not obligated to eat in the sukkah. Harishikosev, the pas, the boy until you die, mikri keva afilu b'gizayis. When it comes to regular piece of bread, less than a kizayis, you can't have a kizayis. Upas mezainis yosim kibeitza, and the magic number for mezainis is a beitza, mikri keva. Krasbaya ba'oirich b'hilchos Chanukah. More about these types of halachos. Legabe the din of lighting the candles of Chanukah. Same type of problems. So you have three things that you have to try to iron out in halacha to do something. We're not talking about Erev Shabbos or whatever. We're talking about Sukkah, lighting Chanukah Lech, doing B'dikas Chametz. We'll continue in Metzah tomorrow. Chananya ben Akasham is Baruch Zakis Yisrael. Lefika Chibel and Torah Mitzvahs. Shenemar Adoy Nechofetz. B'man Tzidko Yagdol Torah V'Yadir.